Let's start from the line Rubik in its color.
Okay.
What do you mean?
Rebbe is saying a phenomenal union. That never initial. There is a union with my Mazle Chosi. Then he says that there is even something higher than Mazle Chosi. Chosi, in Dutch, they see. Sight is a very pure means of recognition. Nonetheless, sight also has variances. It's also an activity, an action. Although it's a very pure action, a direct connect, still there's an action, and therefore there's a faculty by which it is being processed and received.
What would be the exact translation of Mazel Chazi?
Mazle Chosi means, I have a whole motion on this.
Yeah, I know. But
Mazle Chosi means his mazel sees.
His
Chosi
mazel.
means sees. His mazel sees.
Yeah, I know it.
Yeah. You ask a direct translation, the answer is there is none.
Okay.
So the AYIN has the ability to bring this union from the Ava Mesoteres that is effectuated in AYIN as a result of the fact that he is rooted in Ak. He is able to bring it out, beginning to the point that it becomes understood and recognized and accepted in his seichel, and also tzichloi, umoichoi, ubeliboi. And this ability, Rebbe says, is due to the ha'ora of the Ak of Ak that is present by every Yid in a market manner. Ha'ora, we attempted many times to identify the principle of Ha'ora. In summary, Ha'ora is an extremely subtle union and of tremendous finesse and importance. Ha'ora is a subtle awareness of a certain presence. So even though it's a subtle awareness, but it's an awareness that affects a person through and through throughout his whole mitzvahs. Why? Because this awareness, although subtle, this awareness identifies his entire presence, his entire environment. What is his stand? What is he about? Where does he stand? He cannot violate this awareness. Like we gave the marshal of common sense. We struggled with common sense. I hope you understand the inference of the word common sense. Common sense means the sense that a person has, that we all have, without struggle, without looking for it, without learning about it. It's a human sense. That's why it's called common. Common means every human being has it. And he has it without going to school for it. He recognizes it from its inception that this is the way it should be. And we explained that the sense behind it is that he immediately recognizes, without any contemplation. that he is in the real world and that his presence in the world is significant, is real. To put it bluntly, he immediately recognizes that the animal and him are in two different worlds completely. The animal will be chasing its prey, and he has to sit down and contemplate what his life is about. He cannot act without purpose, because this order of this makif lifts him out of the world and says, no, this is not where you belong. Yes, you have to act there, but this is not where you're going to draw your direction in life. The direction in life you're going to draw from this ha'orah, from this makif. This is what it is called talois nefesh, where the nefesh is actually going out, means ending. Talois means totally disconnect, ending its connection to the world and re-identifying itself with the makif, with this ha'orah. All this ha'orah is very subtle, very vague. He cannot really hold on to it. But this is what he connects to. This is what he chooses to be affiliated with. Again, in our moshel, there's no human being who is going to choose to select, so to speak, in his life, to live the life of an animal, even though it's much more solid. In lieu of a human pursuit, or a value, of a neshama value system. This ha'orah, it's called a ha'orah because it doesn't have a substance of its own. But its message is clear, and it represents the message of the total reality of the oil itself. And thus, this defines this subtle cognizance, this subtle awareness, defines to the person what he stands for and where his efforts should be. In effect, if we reflect on this, it means that he recreates his world on his own by defining it, by drawing the directive for that creation from this ha'orah. The ha'orah is not a worldly presence. But he is the one, his bechira, he is the one who defines, he creates his world. He defines what his life, practical life should be like. There are many, many aspects in this, and we discussed it in this, but just everybody, since we, Baruch Hashem, we all have this ha'orah. And therefore we're all blessed with this gift, with this sense, with this superior awareness that human life and the animal life are not in the same vein at all. And the human life cannot be identified by the fact that he eats and sleeps, or he enjoys life, physical life. As we pointed out a while ago, very interesting thing, if a person has everything that he needs in terms of his physical existence, everything. But his mind and heart are not occupied. He doesn't have any pursuit, anything to go after. He is bored. And we said that boredom on this level is more painful than deprivation of physical deprivation. Boredom is what destroys a person's morale completely. Because he's lacking, he's not connecting to this ha'ara, to this oil that identifies what reality is. A person cannot live without the sense of reality. This is why it's called kalois hanefesh. What the nefesh means, as Rebbe says, the nefesh is ending its connection with the world and goes out to its source. So let us start going inside to talk about it because we are really learning many times. Okay, the line begins by Behelam, 4 lines from the bottom on the top section of Kuf Nun Vov. He has the capacity, the capability to bring this subtle awareness from a subtle state El Hagili to full cognizance, to full revelation, to full identity. He is the one who gives it identity within worldly parameters. If this is only a ha'ara, what is he identifying? And how can he translate this ha'ara in world which has no subtleties? A world is something which consists of tangible entities. How do you translate a ha'ara in a worldly context? Okay, now we're going into this parenthesis. I think this is where we left us off. Right, yes. The AYIN mashikosh b'likutei shof. Rebbe says, look in the Likutei, where we quoted before. The ha'ara zu. This is to explain what does he grasp from, what does he connect in this ha'ara to be able to bring it out with a helem and So it says in the Likutei that this ha'ara he mibchinas pnimius ak. This ha'ara is from the bechina what's called pnimius ak. Please understand that these additional points are not just to speak highly about the ha'ara. It is to explain to us how this phenomenon of grasping it and bringing it begilul can happen. So the Rebbe says, bringing it from the Likutei, that this ha'ara is from the bechina of pnimius ak. Even though it's only a ha'ara means just an inference. But this inference is alluding to the pnimius. What is pnimius? Pnimius avak, we're talking about. What is pnimius versus chitzonius? Chitzonius is how things appear, how things are present themselves to the outside. Therefore, chitzonius really does not have any through presence, anything to grasp onto. Let us take a mushroom, as we always do. We know that the human being, structure of the human being is dramatically different than the structure of the animal.
Sorry, we're elaborating on
The principle of pneumius. Pneumius versus chitzonius. With chitzonius, you can readily see that the human being is structured differently than the animal. By this recognition, we can see this is a different kind of a present, different kind of a creature. The human being is a different kind of creature than the animal. He stands up erect, he stands up too, he doesn't go down on his hands. And as we said many times, he looks straight ahead, he looks out, instead of looking at the ground. Many things that you can readily identify this is a different kind of creature. And this you see b'chitzonius, but it's very structured. Even though you could readily see this difference, the most that you can see from that observation is that he stays clear of the earth. He's not like the animal that allows himself to be dirty, so to speak, on the earth or in the environment. He stands on but it does not give you any kind of an insight as to what is going on inside this human being. Why does he stand like this? This is the way he's structured. The chitzonius already tells you it's different, but it doesn't tell you what's the basis of this difference. It's just that he's bodily built differently. This bodily built is an allusion to something. Okay, I'm going to take you to its logical end. It's an allusion to something, but this allusion is to something which is only an enabler. Yes, because he's so structured, he should be able to do other things than the animal. But what is he actually doing with this ability? And what's that to inspire him to follow through on this ability? That he can't tell. He can stand aloof from the world, aloof from the earth, and look up in the sky, but that's it, that's his ability, that's it. This does not necessitate to recognize that what he's really about. That he's not interested in the earth, it doesn't say that. This is the chitzonius. Chitzonius is a very meaningful storyteller, but it's only a storyteller. Therefore, the chitzonius, as much as you can observe, there is nothing to grasp onto and say, I want to be that. I want to be there, I want to connect to that. Nothing to connect. Let's take this just one step further. You go further and you observe this human being as an observer. And you notice and you see, hey, lo and behold, nobody spends his time on. Not like the animals eating and running around. He sits down and he contemplates. What's going on? What is he about? What is he contemplating? This is the revealing, a recognition that there is something deeper down that's going on there. When you recognize this, you say, that's what I know. This is what I want. This is what I'm looking for. What's going on in his man's mind when he is contemplating? What's causing him to contemplate? Why is he not having what he has in front of him? He can go and eat and drink and run the field, like all the animals around him. Instead, he dismisses everything. He says, leave me alone. Give me a little piece. I want to figure something out. This, even an allusion to the pneumius, an allusion to something internal that is going on internally, which you cannot even identify externally at all. The whole thought process is an internal process. He's got something real going on inside. This is not, the reason he's standing up on 2 feet, he's not running on the field, is not because he's structured differently, but because his whole thought process, his whole interest is in a different arena. The ha'ara of this neshama, of this human being, tells me that this is a different creature. And if I want to rise up from my coarse and lonely world, that's what I should connect. This is kalui nefesh. You're going out to something, you don't even have a means to grasp it, to know what you're going on to. You cannot translate it in your worldly terms. It's not going to be a worldly experience. To sit and contemplate is not a worldly experience. And this is what the Rebbe says, that this is how from Bechinas Ak, this is from Pnimius Ak. This is not what Ak looks like. This is what's going on on an internal basis. Why does Ak look differently than anything else? Like I said in our Moshe. It looks differently not because it's more convenient. It looks differently because internally he is in a different reality. He's interested in different things completely. And the external structure is accommodating, is structured according to what the internal element demands. And if you give him an opportunity, he says, it's much more secure, much safer to walk on all fours. You can't fall down. Here you have to balance yourself every time you get up. Especially if you have a little bit of arthritis. You're shaking every time you get up. But that does not at all sway you away from following through with this way. Because there's something deeper to it. Because he does not want to be engaged fully in the physical aspect. He has a pneumius. He has a higher type of intent. This is the pneumius ak. This is the ha'ora from B'chinas pneumius ak. Neshama Yisrael recognize that there is something on the inside that I don't even observe, I don't even see it. But I sense the ha'ora of it. Because I sense the ha'ora of it, once I sense the ha'ora of it, I cannot let go. But I'm climbing up straight walls. There's no way I can grab it. So the answer is, yeah, I cannot grab it, but I can connect to it. I can dedicate myself to it. This is what the Rebbe explained. Ha'ora zuhu mibchinas pnimius ak. Because it's pnimius ak, it's understandable why there is nothing to grasp onto. But it's a ha'ora that the neshamas sense. It's a ha'ora that tells the neshama, this is where you belong. All your faculties are given to you on account of the fact that you belong there. And the only way, and the faculties are given to you because the only way to relate to that pneumis is through these final faculties, not with your hands and feet. Therefore, by recognizing this, he is prepared to give up his entire worldly experience. He says, I want to connect to this ha'ora, using the finest qualities that I have in order to connect to it. Although it remains always beyond me. I'd rather be connected to this final thing and not have a grasp of it than to have a grasp of the worldly experience. Because he senses the pneumius arak, which is the reality of life itself. Vehi b'neshamas Yisrael dafka. There will be 3 lines from the Bible, and that is present in the Neshamas Yisrael dafki. This is only present when the Neshamas. This ha'ora is felt, even in a ha'ora, in a makif, it is felt only in the Neshamas Yisrael. If there is a makif of ak in the world, why is it felt only in Neshamas Yisrael? It should be universally recognized. Ak embraces the whole world, the whole creation, equally. Why is it when Neshamas Yisrael dafke? I've explained the reason that it is aware, cognizant, recognizing Neshamas Yisrael dafke liyois, because she Yisrael all of b'machshov. For Yisrael all of machshov, they rose up in thought. What is the influence of what they rose up in thought? Again, this machshava is talking machshava hagduma deyak. This machshava is what contains all that follows in the world. All that follows in the world is identified in this machshava. This is what gives them a presence. Yisrael is also from this machshava, but all of them, in machshava itself, they're all. What is all? All means they rose up. The Rebbe explains the pshat. All of machshava means the pirush olu. The pirush all of machshava. What the meaning of the word all of machshava? Hainu b'china elyoina shel machshava. It is in the upper bechina, higher aspect of machshava. Now, what is a higher aspect of machshava? Machshava is that which actually identifies things by their form. What is all about the higher aspect of machshava? Let's go a little further. This is, I'd like to point it out to what else is V'hu, and that is sheb'machshava hagduma di'ak. That in this machshava hagduma di'ak, all of the b'chinas ha'pnimius. They rose up in the pnimius aspect. In machshava hagduma there is entire creation. But in the begin of the pnimius of this machshava, pnimius means that which machshava contemplates within itself. To create this world is wonderful. Look what kind of creation it is. But in the pnimius means it is from my own perspective, not because it's a beautiful world, but from my own perspective. I see its significance. I want to create it. That's the pnimius of machshava. Yisrael all over machshava. In machshava aduma, the machshava aduma means he thinks about the whole world creation. He wants everything. But the pnimius of the machshava is something which touches in the market itself. Not only because it's a full world, like we said many times. The world is a Mebash's world. And it's a Mebash's world that has everything in it. Lacks nothing, it develops ad infinitum. There are things in this world that are identified because the world will be complemented by this presence. It will be much more a complete world. And then there is aspect in this machshava that does not have to do with developing a world. It has to do with expressing myself. Pnimi Yisak. Why am I thinking? Why am I creating a world altogether this whole world? Once I decide to create a world, okay, then it's a whole full world. But what's behind this creation of the world in the first place? This is the foundation. The origin of creation of the world is within this pnimius. It's within Ak itself. It is not by fulfilling the world after it is already conceptualized. What initiates this whole concept? This word pnimius. Yisrael Ob Machshava. In pnimius Ak, it was perceived, it was projected that it's going to be Yisrael there. Then yes, it's actually behooves me to create it. Because, look at this, time allows so far. Here's a point to understand. Please understand. This, I think we can put it very simply and we can understand. Something that has an origin. A carpenter builds a table. And the table has its worldly, extremely design. It's a board and four legs, and it stands and so forth. There's a certain way that you have to build it. Now, this carpenter, besides having hands and feet, also has a mind and a heart. He is proud of the world. He relates to the world, to what he's building. In halacha, there is an interesting malacha. Among the 49 malachas, in the 40 malachas, there's a malacha called maki bepatish. Maki bepatish, in literal translation, means he hits the stand with a hammer. What's the last thing he hits on it? What is this malacha, maki bepatish? Very difficult to identify. The maki bepatish is the final expression of the worker that yes, this is a complete thing. How is it complete? It expresses what I wanted to make. It actually represents my origin, myself, my spirit. Here it is. Let's imagine about this. Imagine. It's a malocha and shabbos.
It's drawn. What's who does this? Shoemaker or
Shoemaker,
any worker with a hammer?
Any person with a hammer. Anyone, well, a hammer or a pen.
Any skill.
Any skill. Anyone creates.
Like the finishing touch.
It's not even finished. It's identifying that it's finished.
Yeah.
Because it does not accomplish anything.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
it will. What's identical? How is it finished? It's finished because it represents what I am. This is the pnimius ak. The pnimius is expressed in this makir patish. In the less sense, oh yeah, this is the real thing. How is it done? Because it's me. Because it really represents the truth, my intention, my original intent. That which aroused me to create this is now expressed in this structure. If a carpenter builds a table and the table stands, but it's crooked and it doesn't have any finesse to it, he says, this is not me. Where does a table fit the carpenter? Think about this. Imagine a table being created by his thought, as he initially projected, and the thought itself creates a table. It doesn't have to deal with the clumsiness of boards and nails and all that. It comes right out of the thought. How perfect would the table be? A straight line, a perfect as is in the shoulder. This is what he's looking. How is it reflective of my machshava, of my intent, of the reason I was aroused to go and do it. I want to build something in the world, or I want to bring myself, my principles on. Yisrael, all of my machshava. Yisrael rose up in this world. As the Rebbe said, machshava geduma, all of the pnimis hapnimis. He rose up in the pnimius and the avak means. What is this creation about? Why am I interested in creating it in the first place? How is it going to reflect what I am? This is the machshava. This is the pnimius. This is Yisrael. V'nimshecha, I'm at the end of the third line from the bottom. V'nimshecha ha'ora misham l'kolach b'Yisrael. Then a ha'ora of this pnimius is drawn to every individual need. Because every individual need possesses that inherent connection to this machshava. Every individual need is a reason why Ak wanted to create the world. And the ha'ora of this pnimius ak comes, a ha'ora, an effect of it comes to every individual yid. This is only yid, only Yisrael. This is when Yisrael are uniquely connected to the source of creation. Nothing else. But we originally said there is called koimer the melech the beetle, but the beetle that we identified before, the total beetle of the whole koimer of melech the whole koimer, all structures, the melech bows in front of him before him, which means the entire world, the entire creation recognizes this beetle, this connection. This beetle is shlei much and very much in This beetle is beetle from the beginning chitzonius of not from the previous of This is left to be discussed, and now we are being asked to evacuate, and that's what we're going to do.